Please face the flag and repeat with me.
Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Division 1, Division 7, Gary Van Dam. Division 6, Marlon Barnes. Division 5, Robert Harris.
Here.
Division 4, Justin Lane.
Here.
Division 3, Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 2, Keith Dice.
Here.
Division 1, Shelley Sorsonen.
Here. Item number 4, adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5, public comment period. Is there anybody, member of the public, that would like to speak to the board? Okay, thank you. Item number 6, closed session. We are going to go into closed session now, and we are going to be interviewing candidates for legal counsel consultant position, as well as item D. Do I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think so. Oh, there we go. All right, we're back in open session, and we don't have any reportable action from our closed session. Item number 8, consent calendar.
I'll make a motion we approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9. Do you have any new business or discussion?
No new business to discuss.
Okay, item 10, Finance Committee. Director Dias.
Yes, thank you. The Finance Committee met yesterday, and among the items that we discussed were the consideration and possible action on agency membership list for fiscal year 2019 and 2020, which is in your agenda. And by the way, the Finance Committee recommends full board approval. But Dwayne, would you like to address this one?
Sure, be happy to. Board President, first of all, the members of the board, enclosed in your packet is a membership list of various organizations that AVEK is a member of. The Finance Committee took a close look at this list yesterday in their Finance Committee meeting. The total recommended budget for this particular item is $485,000. And with that, I'll answer any specific questions that the board may have about any of the particular memberships that are recommended for approval.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the membership list for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Also, the Finance Committee discussed the issue of the attendance at the Sustainable Groundwater Planning Seminar in California, Sacramento, July 25th and July 26th. And the committee recommends full board approval. Any comments, Tom?
Yes, I'll be happy to provide comments. This is, as you know, the Sustainable Groundwater Act is currently in its planning stages, and many organizations around the state are planning for how to best address that situation. AVEK is not directly, or I should say the Antelope Valley region is not directly affected by this legislation because of the adjudication, which in essence is a groundwater management sustainability plan. But there are some fringe areas that are located outside of our adjudicated boundary that are affected by this act, and also the Fremont Basin is also affected by this act. And as such, the board or the finance committee and the staff is recommending that this training seminar be available to the board members to attend because it is outside the normal group of conferences and other trainings that we've had, that the board has approved in the past, so it takes special board action to attend this particular event. And so that's why it's on the agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Okay, I will move on board order 10A2.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10A2 passes.
And finally, the Finance Committee discussed and recommends full board approval, authorizing staff to file the notice of completion for Cal City Construction for the Operations Center expansion. Dwayne? Yes,
this particular facility has been complete for about 6 months or so, and the staff is recommending that the board approve the notice of completion and that it be filed appropriately. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, staff recommends approval.
I'll move on board order 10A3.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 10A3 passes. Water Bank Resources Committee, Director Donato.
Yes.
Okay, considering, I'm sorry, 10B1, consideration of possible action on term sheet for the common landowners transfers of 2019 State Water Project Table A and water between AVEK and Homer LLC. Dwayne, go ahead and show us an update on that.
Yes, board president, Sourcewell, members of the board, this item is before you tonight for approval. It's a term sheet with Homer LLC. The term sheet allows the staff to move forward with a common landowner exchange between properties located here in the Antelope Valley and properties that Homer has and farms in the San Joaquin Valley. The term sheets for 15,000 acre-feet of state water project water. The financial impact for the agency is if the state water allocations stays at the 70 to 75% range, which we anticipate it will. The price per acre foot for that 15,000 acre feet of water is $325 an acre foot, and which comes to about $4,875,000 if the transfer is approved by the Department of Water Resources. If the allocation increases above 76%, then the price per acre foot goes down to $150 an acre foot with a end result of $2,250,000. We have had, the agencies had a long relationship with Homer in the last several years of providing these common landowner exchanges that worked fairly flawlessly with the Department of Water Resources. And for that reason, staff has done an analysis of our water supply needs given the 70% allocation, and we are recommending that the 15,000 acre feet in surplus table A that we have this year be utilized in this fashion in order to generate revenue that can offset AVEK's costs for other areas of the project.
Okay, I move on board order 10B1.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have just a question for Dwayne. Why do we have to go by the payable if we get more water. It seems that if Homer wants to buy this water now, that he's gonna pay the they're gonna pay the $3.25 per acre foot. And why would we not just negotiate that right now?
Because the reason, one of the rationales behind that is as the one of the contingencies that happens is when the allocation goes up, then there's a lot more water that's in the system per se, so the water goes proportionally downward as that additional water as far as the market goes. These numbers are actually much higher than we've negotiated with Homer in the past, and this kind of locks us in. In some instances, once you get past 75%, there's very little market available for water. This guarantees us a sale that we otherwise may not be able to get, because some of the water that the other larger agencies like Kern County Water Agency, they can just get it from them without having to incur the same cost.
I understand that, but this is a negotiation that's occurring right now. So why don't we just negotiate the rate that we believe it's going to be, or the $3.25 rate, and leave it at that?
Well, that's certainly an option that's available. This is the negotiated price that staff worked out with Homer because they're concerned about water going past the 75% amount.
So we need DWR to approve this as soon as possible.
Yes.
That would be the goal.
That actually doesn't matter. It's
No, it does.
It does.
It does. As soon as we approve it, it says 75%, so it'll be $3.50. It's just, the reason why we had this was we didn't know, as we were going through the negotiations over the last 60 days, we weren't sure exactly where we would end up. So this allows us to flexibility to move forward.
So they're concerned that the allocation will go up, or they're thinking that it won't?
Well, it's when you're negotiating, it's the difficulty of negotiating something that's going to be delivered in the future. You're not sure where that allocation, if you remember 60 days ago, we had, very, very large amounts of water, and there was some serious thought that the water allocation was going to go up at that time. And so this provided the flexibility to do a deal either way. Otherwise, they were reluctant to move forward.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, that brings us to 10B2, consideration of possible action to authorize staff to release retention in the amount of $100,000 to Nicholas Construction, Inc. for completing the Eastside Water Bank repairs.
Yes, board president, source board members of the board, our water manager, Justin Lipsey. I'm gonna get his name right one of these days. Gonna have to practice that more and more. So I apologize for not pronouncing your last name correctly. Is here to give us a presentation on closeout of this project that's been ongoing for the last couple of years.
Right, I'll go ahead and move on board order. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. You got it right. It's lip sync. Good evening, board presidents or small members of the board. Included in your packet is a staff report regarding this item. Let's see, I'm going to steal the mouse. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So this is regarding some repair work that was done at our the agency's Eastside Water Bank. If you recall, this facility was put into use back in 2016. I've got a little timeline here for you. In April 2016, the basins were first put into use. Shortly thereafter, within a matter of weeks, some cracking was discovered in the access roads to the basins due to settlement on the site. So at that time, Kennedy Jenks and the agency discussed a plan of action. Initially, they decided to begin tracking the settlement using survey data. So that was done over a period of time. In July of 2016, they developed an action plan of what to do to remediate this damage that was caused to the facility. In February 2017, the survey data showed that that settlement stopped, and in April of that same year, they stopped tracking the settlement and developed a repair plan. So the agency decided to hire an unbiased third-party peer reviewer in Tetra Tech to review that repair plan and make sure that it was going to be in the agency's best interest. And so they reviewed that and made a couple of suggestions that were incorporated into the final repair plan. Its repairs began in October of 2017 on the road work, and in November those repairs were completed. They performed a couple other concrete repairs, most recently in last month of this year. So just kind of going through the details of that. This is our Eastside Water Bank facility. There's a chlorination building here and an air gap tank. We've got 3 wells here and 3 2-acre recharge ponds. Just get the lay of the land. This is what those completed basins looked like when they were done in April of 2016. And here's what those cracks look like after they developed over a couple of weeks. So Kennedy Jenks consulted with some experts in the field, some geotechnical people, to determine the cause of that settlement and the next steps. Here's a graph showing the settlement that they discovered over the course of this 300-day period. You see the settlement declining, and roughly around day 300, this period of time, there was no additional settlements. They felt that at that time they could proceed with their repairs. This is the area that the repairs were focused on, the areas right around the basins. So one of the recommendations from Tetra Tech was to inundate the cracks with water to induce any further sediment, so we make sure we got it all out of the way. So that was done with a water truck flooding that facility over the course of 3 weeks to ensure that that happened. And then they began work on the road. So they brought in equipment to scarify those roads and prepare the existing aggregate base. Compacted those roads and did some localized compaction in the areas that the larger equipment wouldn't quite fit. Any voids that developed, they filled with concrete slurry. And they placed about 100 truckloads of aggregate base back on the site. Spread that, leveled it, compacted it with a roller. And this is what the final access roads look like at the end of 2017. So that repair work has held up really well over the last year or so, and it looks good today. So in 2018, in May, they came out and did the first part of their concrete work, which was just to repair some various joints and cracks that had occurred. Work, they couldn't complete the entire project because there was still some water in the basins. So they came back out just last month to perform the remainder of it. There was an entire full panel here that needed to be replaced, so they busted that out and reported the complete panel. They used rebar to dowel into the neighboring panels to ensure that was a good fix, and then finished the concrete work there. There was a large crack running down the middle of one of the panels, so they cut out 1.5 feet on either side of that crack, doweled it again with rebar into the neighboring panels, and repoured the concrete. Various places around the site had some cracked and chipped concrete, which they saw cut out and then repoured. Any large expansion joints that had separated a little bit too much was repaired with flexible joint sealant. And any other smaller cracks were grinded out and then filled with that same flexible sealant. So that's a really quick overview. In summary, all compares are complete and acceptable as of April 25th, 2016. The notice of completion on this project was actually filed back in August of 2016, where we released some of their retention, but withheld $100,000 pending these repairs. And now that those repairs are 100% complete and satisfactory, staff would recommend that the board authorize releasing those remaining funds to make this construction. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And I would be remiss if I didn't remind the board and the public that all this remediation work was done without any additional cost to the agency. It was done by Kennedy Jenks, and they covered the cost of all those repairs, including the engineering work and the other aspects that were necessary to complete the project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and move from board order 10B2.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Committee, Director Harris.
I'll turn that over to Dwayne. Thank you.
Yes, Board President, Sourcewell, members of the board, this item before you tonight is a professional service agreement with Townsend Public Affairs. It's amendment number 1 to the current contract. And if you remember last year, the board secured a contract with Townsend Public Affairs for public advocacy and also for grant writing. During that period, the Townsend got out to a slow start, but they kind of kicked it in high gear, so to speak, towards the end of their contract. We have got a project that is being considered through the federal, from the federal side with Congresswoman Katie Hill, who came to the agency and was briefed on the project not once but twice. And there are preparations made for a tactical meeting to be held in Washington, D.C. sometime in June. And so those provisions are moving forward. That's all contained in the retainer, all the costs for setting that up and working through those aspects. The grant, if successful, would assist the agency in building the SNP Phase 2, which is approximately $26 million. They've also facilitated the submission of a $200,000 grant for hazard mitigation, which the board has approved last month. So the monthly fee for the amendment, which is a 1-year amendment to their agreement with the agency, is $6,500 a month, or $78,000 total for the course of the year. The new projects funding source and grants committee considered this amendment and is recommending approval. Staff concurs, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I move approval of board order 10C1.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Did you have any words to say? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now get to work. Okay, item number 11, General Manager's Report.
Yes. Board President, Sourcewell, members of the board, this is the General Manager's Report for May 14, 2019. State weather in the northern region is very light. There's some showers possible towards the Wednesday and Thursday night, but snow levels up to 9,000 to 11,000 feet. So by and large, the weather portion by the end of May is pretty much done. So you probably won't see the rain total in the next state report until about October of the rest of the year. But this is a very interesting graph. As we've indicated before, the blue lines indicated here are average. So you can see that we had a fairly, that's what, April. We had an average April. I had an extraordinarily good February and March, and as you can see how the numbers have gone through there. So it's looking real good as far as the rain totals this year, and that's the reason for the 70% allocation. Once again, here's the aid station graph. And what you see here is this, if I can stop this thing. Not really too much. Anyway, that's it. I've had it. The shaded line is the average. And you can see over here that we're above average at this particular location there. There's going to be pretty much a straight line through the balance of the year. So we did very well from a weather point of view. Here's the snowpack for the 3 regions. You can say we're way above average here on the snowpack. But it's beginning to come down. The shaded area is average, so you can see this is the northern part of the Sierra, the central part of the Sierra, and the southern part of the Sierra. So most of the snow was beginning to melt off. And because it has melted so slowly relative to everything else, you can see all of our reservoirs are full. And even Lake Orville is coming in, and we're at 115% of average. So it's looking good as far as all the reservoirs are full. If the board remember, it wasn't a couple of years ago that everything was empty. So, this is a real good sign going into the balance of this year and also starting out next year. Our capacity here in in St. Louis is still very good. We're 115% of average and at 95% total capacity, which is wonderful at this time of year. And let's go to plant treatment flows. You can see here that we're at 31 million gallons a day here, and we're at Roseman at 4.4. East side, just about 1 million gallons a day, and our Acton Palmdale Exchange, 1.1 million for 37.5 million gallons a day, as opposed to last year at 26.8 million gallons a day. So we've been consistently producing more water than we have in the past for our treatment plants. And you can see our geopurification. We got million gallons a day going out of the east side plant for water quality purposes. We got 2.4 million gallons a day going outside of the west side water bank for purposes, and Bench Ranch is being pumped just as a test to exercise those pumps that were installed in that location there. Those will be coming off shortly. As far as our water banking goes, we're still banking at 132 acre feet a day. We put in about 8,417 acre feet. We'll continue to do that for a little bit longer and recharge some more water. And this is the graph that we started for you beginning this calendar year. You can see the dark blue lines are the actual deliveries versus the light blue lines being what was requested. So you can see in March and April that our customers are taking just about what they requested, which is reflected in the increase in the treatment plant capacity. So we'll see, as you can see, once we hit May and then the big 3-4 months between September and June as it warms up in this area, we'll see how the sales go. But right now we're pretty close to being on target. Water quality updates. Our bromide is low because of all the export that's coming through the Delta, and our bromate is non-detect, which is great. It's a real really helps with our THMs. And then the raw water TOC is about 3.5 milligrams per liter, which is at the moderate level. And just for future reference, our clarifiers remove about 44% of that. So that works out very Some regulatory updates. VWR has withdrawn all their proposed permits on the California water fix, and the Twin Tunnel project is now officially dead. All of the approvals have been rescinded, or the applications have been rescinded. So they're going to begin a new environmental review and planning for the single tunnel project, which is now called the Delta Conveyance. Delta Conveyance project is a project that is part of a larger water resiliency plan that Governor Newsom outlined in order to address climate change and potential impacts associated with earthquakes. The senator came out, Senator Dianne Feinstein came out today in support, or yesterday I guess, in support of the single tunnel option, and wrote a letter to the governor on that. The word is that the project is anticipated to move very quickly, unlike the previous Twin Tunnel project. Anytime you get an opportunity to do something twice, you learned a lot the first time around. So hopefully they've learned some lessons and be able to move the project along really quickly. More to come. A couple of legislative updates that we have. SB 307. This is the water conveyance use of facilities with unused capacity. This has a lot to do with a desert water project, and that's in the legislature and under consideration. And then AB 217 is the Safe Drinking Water Act, and this is the item that is proposes agricultural fees on dairy fertilizer and combined annual feeding operations. And it's been moved to also the Assembly Appropriations Committee in a suspense file. So yeah, we'll see whether it comes out of the suspense file and it moves forward. As far as events and schedules, we have a Water Master Board meeting here at AVEK on Wednesday, May 22nd. My schedule, I will be going to Sacramento tomorrow and through the rest of the week for meetings with TWR. And then I need to fly back to Sacramento on Monday in order to attend a public negotiation session on the water management tools contract amendment that's moving very quickly, which will allow the transfer of water without having to go through the exchange process that we've gone through so many times. So it should work out fairly well. It'll be very, very advantageous to the agency to have those changes in the DWR contract.
Will the extension also be a part of that?
It's not. It's on a separate path.
Okay.
That concludes my general manager's report. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, I have one question. Is it true that we spent $240 million on twin tunnels, all the environmentalist studies and everything?
Well, I think that would be low, frankly. But yeah, we spent a lot on the environmental studies. Most of that information will be used in the new environmental documentation. So it's not completely lost, but there will be some rework.
That's just paperwork. We've already spent close to $200 million the first round.
Yeah, it is. I can't tell you the number off the top of my head, but it's large.
You mean the cost to build the tunnel?
Well, no, I mean what we spent so far.
Paperwork?
Yeah.
Crazy.
You mentioned going to Sacramento for a meeting on some other way of exchanging water or not having to exchange.
In other words, there's a Monday's meeting is a public negotiation session that's required by the Monterey agreements, where any contract amendments to the state water contract have to be negotiated in a public session. That public session will occur on Monday. Should take pretty much all day to do. And most of the language was in the original agreement principle that the board approved having to do with the California water fix. And now they need to remove the California water fix language out of that contract amendment, so it's just a contract amendment of water management tools that allows for the transfer of water from willing buyer to willing seller without the need to have a formal exchange.
Looking forward to hearing the result of that.
Yeah, it'd be nice, yes. It'd be good water management for the whole state.
Thank you for your report. Item number 12, committee meeting recap report.
We have them.
Item 13, director's reports. Do any of our directors have anything to report?
I just want to report on the Antelope Valley Board of Trade bus trip, legislative trip. Wayne and I went on that trip. Thank you very much for sponsoring, and it was a great event. Our Senator Scott Bill, Assemblyman Tom Lackey showed us all around the Capitol. They set up seminars for us. They gave us a very good briefing on what's going on legislatively in our Capitol. And then the networking of, I think we had about 50 people on the bus.
Right.
And of all different organizations throughout Antelope Valley. Just a great event. Encourage you strongly next year if they do it, that some of you might want to go.
Thank you. Anybody else? I have a request. I would like to ask Dwayne to send out a letter to KJ in regards to the Eastside Water Bank and thank them for their professionalism and taking responsibility for some of the issues that we had out there. It's quite commendable of them, and we like to do business with people that stand by their work, and that doesn't always happen, unfortunately. So I would say that we all would appreciate that letter going out of appreciation.
Happy to do that.
Thank you. Okay, item 14, attorney's report.
Nothing for open session.
Thank you. 15, old business.
We have that.
Okay. Next would be closed session, and we have items C, D, and F. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Let's take a 5-minute break.